solar sales almost tripled in Arizona from 2018 to 2019. Does solar save you money? Does it have a positive effect on the value of your house? And what are the possible adverse effects when you go to sell your home? I'm going to tell you everything you need to know right now. So according to a report released 3 days ago by the Solar Energy Industries Association, solar sales in Arizona increased from 342.8 megawatts of installed solar in 2018 all the way up to 909.53 megawatts in 2019. Most people have never had to sell a home with solar panels. So should you install solar? There are several factors that you have to consider when you ask this question. The first one is, what's your reason? Is it because you're trying to be environmentally responsible, or is it for financial reasons? So let me first say that I'm not here to change anybody's mind on solar if your reason is to save the planet. But if your reason is to save money, you better keep listening. You may not love what you're about to hear. There are two ways to get solar. Number one, you can own it, and number two, you can lease it. So let's start out with owned solar panels. Now, if you've ever priced that solar's not cheap, the first thing you have to ask yourself is, how long do I plan to live in this home? It takes the average homeowner 12 to 15 years in monthly utility bill savings to pay for owned solar. The average Phoenician only lives in their home for 8 years. So most homeowners will never actually stay long enough to see the savings. The next thing that you may say is, well, I'll recover my investment when I sell my house. Not so fast. I've been selling real estate in the desert since 1999, and I've run into different types of obstacles selling homes with solar owned and leased solar. So I've asked appraisers if owned solar adds value. And their response is pretty interesting. They'll tell you that to assign a value for your solar panels, they must be able to find a comparable home that's sold in that area that's received more for their home as a result of having owned solar panels. So it doesn't work like a pool where you have a bunch of homes in a neighborhood that have pools and it's easy to assign a value or inflate the value because of the value of the pool, right? So solar doesn't work that way. So to give you the value, you have to find comps. Or an appraiser has to find comps. So it's so the challenge with solar is it's not as popular as a pool in Arizona, at least not as of today. So it's like that when you go to sell your home, there won't be another home comparable to yours that's sold in that area with solar panels. That's just a high probability. So let's say you invest $25,000 into the purchase and installation of your new solar panels, and you sell your home after 8 years, and you're just a little over halfway to the savings, and now you eat the majority of the cost because your home is likely not worth $25,000 more as a result of having the panels. In fact, it might not be worth a penny more according to how some appraisers actually view it. The silver lining, if you already own solar, is that the report numbers I shared at the outset clearly show more and more people are buying solar. So there is a chance, if your neighborhood catches on, that an inflated comp will be available when you're ready to sell. The second way to have solar installed is to lease it. So you don't necessarily have the big cash outlay on the front end, but over the life, believe me, you're more than paying for that solar system. So if you're putting no money down, you're typically saving anywhere from 10 to 30% in your monthly utility bills, but remember, you're still paying for your solar lease. So what's the impact when you want to sell your home with leased solar? Well, there's two things that must happen before you can sell your home if you have leased solar panels. The first one is the buyer must agree to take over the lease, and the second is they must qualify with the solar company or with whoever's financing that to take over the lease. So you might be able to transfer the panels and the lease to your new home if you're staying in the service area. So let's say you're moving and you want the solar company to come out, pick up the panels, move them to your new house. Well, you're going to pick up the cost of that. And oh, by the way, in the process, what if they tear up your old roof? Now you're going to have to fix that roof for the new owner. Or you might be able to just buy it out. So you can prepay the remainder of the lease for the new owner, which is likely going to be costly. And that all depends on your individual lease agreement. You need to know if that's even an option inside of your lease agreement. So, why would a buyer not want to take over the lease and save a little money every single month? The answer is it really depends on how the lease is written and how much time is left on it. So solar leases usually run between 20 and 30 years, and some solar leases have escalation clauses. Not all of them, but many of them do. So let me illustrate an example of a potential situation you could run into when you're trying to sell your home with solar leased panels. Let's say you have a 25-year solar lease on your home that has an escalation clause at 10 years and you've lived there for 8 years. So after the escalation clause kicks in, the savings will be drastically reduced if they exist at all for that new owner. So you've essentially front-loaded this thing, and all the benefit and enjoyment of the savings have gone to you, and now you're asking a new buyer to come in and absorb the escalating costs of a lease that you originated. So in a buyer's market or even a balanced market, you're likely going to have some issues with this scenario. Now, if you're in a heavy seller's market, you have a better chance of getting away with it, but we're not always sitting in a heavy seller's market. So the second part of the equation was that you need to find, the first one was you need to find somebody that will willingly take over the lease. The second is that they have to actually qualify with the solar company or their financing agent in order to transfer the solar lease. So in other words, they can't buy the house unless they qualify for the solar panels. So let me just read to you an example from a solar lease of what it takes to qualify. Now, this particular solar lease was originated from Solar City, or it was originally from Solar City, and it was taken over by Tesla, now owns this. It's a 19-page contract, and by the way, I couldn't actually find the verbiage I'm about to read in the contract itself. This was sent to one of my clients as part of an email instructing them on how this has to happen. So again, I wasn't able to find this anywhere in the contract. Here's what it says. The home buyer will qualify in one of three ways. Number one, a FICO score of 650 or greater. Now, understand, today, you can actually qualify to buy a home with a 580 credit score with an FHA loan. So, does everybody that's buying a home have a 650 credit score? Absolutely not. There's a huge market of people that are qualifying for FHA loans. And again, they only need a 580 credit score to qualify there. Now, that doesn't mean they only have a 580 credit score. I'm just saying that is the minimum standard for FHA in today's market. So not everybody's going to have a 650 plus credit score. In fact, you can do zero down with a 640 credit score today. So again, that can get tricky. Number two, remember, one of three ways. So not all three, but one of these three ways. Number two, purchasing your home with cash. How many buyers that are not investors are purchasing homes with cash today? The answer is very, very few. Okay, so again, you can see that one is going to qualify very few people, right, with having to buy it with cash. The third one is a little bit confusing. I don't know exactly what they mean by this. But they say if they do not qualify with the options above, paying a $250 credit fee. So again, I don't know exactly what that means. I can't imagine they say, well, if you're not buying with cash and you don't have a 650 credit score, give us $250 and we'll qualify you. I don't know exactly what they mean there. But again, there's some confusion there. What does it actually take? So we have to make sure that these people qualify, and we need to understand that process. Now again, I'm going to reiterate it. I didn't find that anywhere in the actual contract itself. If it's not in the contract, I'm not saying it isn't. I went through it. I didn't find it anywhere. If it's not there, when are we finding this out? We're finding it out when we put the house on the market for sale and they send us an email and tell us how this is going to work. That's a little bit scary. So make sure you understand that lease agreement. If you're going to do this, make sure you understand the lease agreement, and then make sure you ask the right questions on the front end. Remember, beginning with the end in mind is always smart when you're buying a home. Now, in this particular lease, the owner paid $2,225 in upfront fees, and they're paying a little bit over $142 a month. In fact, they're paying $142.55 every single month. There is no escalation clause in this particular agreement. It's a 20-year lease agreement. So if you do the math, then somebody is paying $36,437.40 over the life of this lease. Somebody meaning you, if you brave this option, if you decide tomorrow after watching this video to go out and lease solar panels, then you're braving that option, and or a combination of you're going to pay that $36,000, or you're going to assign or try to assign that to somebody else. Okay, so just keep that in mind. Now, if the solar company's nice, they may even let you purchase it at the very end, right? But it seems to me that you've already paid for it. You paid over $36,000 to lease solar panels for 20 years, okay? That's more than paying for it. So now they say, okay, well, if it's in if in the lease agreement they allow you to do that, then they can come out and finance that for you, or you know, you could potentially extend it again. It just depends on what's in that lease agreement. Now, what happens if you don't purchase it, or you don't have an option, or you don't have the option to do that, right? Well, they're going to come out and they're going to remove it, and you better hope they don't leave a bunch of big holes in your roof. But they're not there to repair your roof. They're just simply there to remove your solar. So there's a good chance you're going to have a roofer come out behind them to actually do some patchwork on the roof itself. So what if you need to replace the roof during the lease agreement, right? So let's say your roof, you have a shingle roof, it's 15 years old, you put in leased solar panels. Well, that roof not likely to last another 20 years. So at some point, you're going to actually have to replace the roof. So timing is important in all this. You need to know what your lease agreement says. If you need to replace the roof, you're going to have to be really, really gentle with those solar panels. The last thing you want to do is damage them. And who owns the tax credits and rebates if you lease? Probably not you, and probably not the new owner that you're transferring everything to. Look, the point is to begin with the end in mind when purchasing or leasing solar, right? Anytime you buy a home, always have the end in mind. What is the end game? Never more important than when you're leasing or purchasing your solar. Now, if your sole reason for installing solar is to save money, you may end up with a rude awakening, right? So if you already have solar installed, look, you're not doomed, but you better have a real estate team that can help you through the possible challenges and complications and all the troubled waters that you might run yourself into. Hey, if you haven't already, make sure that you find us on YouTube. Subscribe subscribe to our channel on YouTube, Phoenix Homes and Hotspots. You're also going to find me. Of course, you can send me a call, shoot me a text or an email, and we'd be happy to answer any questions you have, whether they're solar related, real estate related here in the Phoenix area, Phoenix market information, cost of living. Again, you're going to find all of that information on our YouTube channel, as well as some of our other outlets. But please don't hesitate to pick up the phone and give us a call. We want to be your resource here in Phoenix. You're also going to find Phoenix Homes and Hotspots on Facebook and Instagram, and you're going to find me personally at Todd & Co. on Twitter, and you can find me on LinkedIn by typing in Todd, middle initial S, Hall. So connect with me. We'd be happy to answer, again, all of your questions. Right now, check out a couple more of my popular videos right here.